Hello. Welcome to another episode of the Holy Hour. It's Gavin, and I'm just hanging out here. I felt compelled to do a little cure talking with you, so thanks for joining me. And it'll be a short one here, but I felt the urge, so I figured I'd share it with you guys. So yeah, we're winding down February 2016, and I'd been listening to Bloodflowers at work, which shouldn't sound that shocking, but it is. I think it's fair to admit that a lot of us probably don't willingly throw in Bloodflowers that often, as much as we love it in our hearts and openly. It's probably safe to say it's not too many people's favorite Cure album. So that was on, and it was feeling good, and the song 39 came on, and I was like, yes, I understand this now. And strangely enough, I will be turning 39 next week. It's a weird birthday. You're still hanging in there. The death rattle of your 30s, I guess they call it. Nobody calls it that, but I'm calling it that. So yeah, it's weird. I don't know if it's common, but I tend to stress out over the big birthdays, like the 2 or 3 years before it actually happens. You know, when you're winding down your 20s, or I don't really remember stressing out as a preteen, but I'm sure I was. I think I stressed out over everything as a preteen. But anyway, you know, and you get it out of your system by the time the damn birthday hits. You're just like, whatever. Happy to be alive. Let's just boil it down to that. Having almost kicked it as a teenager anyway. You know, I feel like I have a good appreciation of just having a birthday, so I really can't bitch too much that I'm turning 39 and I'm old. My body's falling apart. I look kind of crappy, but you know, I'm alive, and from what I can tell, even being old and crappy is a little better than being dead. So didn't mean to totally take it there right off the bat, but you know what I mean? And it fits kind of a Bloodflowersy thing, so it makes sense that this would be something I could be like, oh yeah, now Bloodflowers makes a lot of sense. But Bloodflowers does sound a lot better to me now than probably when it came out. I don't think the age totally has a lot to do with it. It's just an album that's kind of grown on me. I think it's thought of, you know, myself included, early on, as the start of the later Cure albums, the official old Cure. Some people would probably stretch that back to Wild Mood Swings, or switch it back to however old you are and when you started liking the Cure. But for me, it's kind of like from about Bloodflowers on, these new ones. I love them. I'm so glad that they're coming out. I wish they'd put out more. It's been way too long since the last one even. But it's probably safe to say these albums aren't really winning over any new fans, right? Or, you know, maybe the occasional one here or there, but like, for the most part, they're kind of like bonus track albums. You know, I feel like there's a lot of great stuff on them, but, you know, nobody's probably putting them in their top 5 as their best favorite Cure albums. But I don't know. I feel like that sounds shitty, but I'm trying to be honest here. But I love it now, and I think I loved it then too, but I think it's the lack of singles on Bloodflowers. I've talked about that in other episodes, where I like, you know, the Cure's kind of known for having their great singles, and this one kind of admittingly right off the bat, Robert was saying how it wasn't an album that was going to have singles on it. Maybe someday became kind of the default single, but I don't even know if they officially pushed that. They didn't make a video for it or anything. I don't know if I even have an official single for it. I think there was some promo radio stuff, but yeah, and you know, and that was with the idea of it being part of the trilogy, and that I don't really recall being announced right off the bat. If somebody knows otherwise or feels otherwise, feel free to correct me. But I feel like they kind of, because they put out Bloodflowers, and then it was a little ways after that, not even the initial Bloodflowers tour, they put out the trilogy idea, how it's part 3 of Pornography, Disintegration, and Bloodflowers. And kind of saying, oh yeah, these are all the transition albums from, you know, 20 to 30 and 30 to 40, and they're the heavier, gloomier Cure. not gloomier even, but just like the heavy, less poppy Cure. And this was an attempt to get back to that. And you know, and in that context, it works. I kind of feel like it was just attached maybe to this album for the sake of doing that, but I don't think anyone really called them out on it or complained because everyone's totally happy to go to a concert where they play all of Pornography and all of Disintegration and throw blood flowers on the end. Why not? So yeah, no one's complaining about that. But it was a little weird, but it makes sense because it is a heavier side of the Cure, and you know, for him, and that's something that they've continued on with the other like kind of trilogy tours, and everyone's hoping they'll do more of. And it kind of is a great metaphor for this age. I feel like maybe that's why I was identifying it the other day when I was kind of more somber at work and 39's coming. What is this? Am I just closer to dying, or is it like, you know, I don't know. But it's an album, for lack of better terms, kind of fits. You know, being a little older and crappier. Oh, maybe like the album, as terrible as that sounds, but you know, lacking spark and singles and all that. But you know, like I said, it's kind of a good metaphor for that time. And in a couple of years, I'll be putting out my self-titled version of My Life album where it's a little more rockin', and I've gotten over it and embraced 40. But I don't know. Kudos to them in the sense that I feel like he nailed a perfect time frame, and now I can finally maybe appreciate that better because here I am in my late 30s. When I wasn't when it came out. The album came out in 2000, in February too. Did I mention that yet? How strange as that is. It came out in February, and we're wrapping up February right now as I'm recording this. So almost 16 years ago to the day. Strange to think that Blood Flowers is that old now, like 16 years ago. I was in my last year of college. It was the first album that I didn't run home or listen to in the car. I think it was at the school library in between classes. I was able to grab a copy and listen to it. That's a weird environment to hear a Cure album for the first time. So I was kind of like, eh. But just the idea of it being a metaphor for 39 is pretty cool. Not even having, I mean, the whole point that the song 39 is even on the album. The fire's gone out and there's nothing left to burn. Fits pretty good, you know? And I remember the live shows for that were great, where they'd have the big fire behind them going. Great stage, stage set for that song, or images that they put up on the screen behind them and stuff. But yeah, it's a weird kind of vibe to that whole album that fits. Is their last kind of keyboard heavy album for a while, maybe up until now. And I'm thinking about it, they hadn't really they kind of switched to more guitar-y rock as the later ones continued on. But I'm trying to think now, even off the top of my head, I think has there only been 2 actual albums since then in the last 16 years? That's crazy. Maybe. I don't know. I might have to call myself out on that later. Lots of I think like Join the Dots came out after and such. But yeah, as far as actual albums, I think it's this and then the self-titled one and then 413. Like, guys, we need to step it up, put some more stuff out. Anyway, so yeah, stages of life. I got talking about that with Donald the other night, of plugging yourself into where Robert was when the Cure albums came out, and how it's funny to think that now, turning 39 next week, I'll be in the Blood Flowers stage of my life. Like I said, fits kind of to the mood of the album and the overall theme, and perception as a Cure fan of that album is how I'm feeling about myself a little bit. But yeah, that's pretty crazy to think that I'm at that stage now of like, wow, okay. And at 29, thinking of where I was at 29, if I'd been putting out Disintegration at that time, no way. I could barely move out of my house, let alone put out Disintegration. But yeah, so that's a fun game to do. I recommend doing that sometime. And just thinking of Cure fans and the flip perspective of that is also fun. Of just thinking of like how there's such a wide range. I think I jokingly said that from Blood Flowers on, they're probably not winning too many new fans, right? So it's hard to say how many young Cure fans. But I mean, it's not like when a new album comes out, that's the only time you get new fans. There's probably generations, I'm imagining, of kids that are just stumbling across even their parent CDs at this point, and hopefully opening up a whole, underground Cure scene again of young kids that, the same way other kids in the past would put on Zeppelin albums or something, and discover this amazing band. I'd like to think that there's a lot of future rock and rollers out there that are discovering the Cure for the first time. So with that idea, let's say 18-year-olds maybe. It's probably about the age that a kid would stumble across a Cure record and get it. 17, 18 maybe. But there's fans that gotta stretch up now to about 10 years older than Robert, or at least you could probably stretch it to like 60, right? So there's probably some 60-year-olds out there, wherever they are. Yeah, I mean, Robert's like 56, turning 57 soon. So there's definitely people that were like 3 years older than him that were into The Cure and discovered them when they put out a band. There's plenty of bands that I hear and I'm like, they're kids. So I'm like, yeah, these new kids are awesome. These, not the new kids, but like these young musicians are amazing. So yeah, there's got to be like 60-year-olds out there that listen to Cure. I'm sorry if you're 60 hearing this. I don't mean that to be so shocking, but it's like just weird because I'm kind of stuck in the middle, I guess, or later side of the middle. But yeah, I love it. I think 80-year-olds should be listening to The Cure. But it's just strange. Like, wow, okay. So I guess they're that phase. If Robert himself is almost 60, then that makes total sense. There would be tons of 60-year-olds out there listening to The Cure still. And but that's a sign of an amazing band, if you ask me. It's like 18-year-olds to 60-year-olds. That's got to be rare. I mean, I guess there's all the classic rock bands that are that way, but oh my god, that's like Mozart or something. I don't know. But I think that's pretty cool, and just the idea of where you are when you heard them, and these people are like, oh yeah, I've been watching these fucking guys put on their makeup for the last 30 years now. It's like, that's pretty cool. And then to some other kid, they're just like, oh wow, who's this band? So let's talk a little bit about specifics of Bloodflower, since that's probably not going to be one that I get to talk about with a person so much. My wife really likes this album, but she is not, as of yet, decided to do an episode with me. So we got other plans if I can finally convince her to do one. But for now, for Bloodflowers, like I said, Out of This World kicks it off. It's a longer track, and has a cool piano part by Roger on there, and just has some great lyrics. There's a lot of good lyrics on this album, where either the music's alright or the balance isn't always there. But there's a few that have some really good lyrics. It might not be the greatest song, but there's some great lines in a lot of these. Quickly followed by Watching Me Fall, which is really a long song and not that great in my opinion. I feel like in the Wish episode, Don and I were battling it out about Edge of the Deep Green Sea, and me, of course, explaining why it was such a brilliant song. One of the many reasons, is that it doesn't feel as long as it is. Like, sounds long as hell, but it doesn't feel like it, and like the song just flows and has different parts and keeps like going and going and doesn't lose steam. Watching Me Fall, on the other end, 11-minute long track, and it feels like 11 minutes. I mean, there's parts of it that are kind of cool, and it rocks and has a good, like, the music of it's actually really good. Even the lyrics aren't bad, but it's just like, I guess because it repeats back the chorus, and there's like some instrumental parts that don't really do anything, but it's just kind of like, oh man, this song is still going. It feels 11 minutes long. And, it's fine to have on there, especially for an album that's got like a concept like this, where it's not trying to be a poppy album, but they probably should have put it a little later. I think at this point, like the track 2, I always thought with The Cure is like their big single, you know? Like, if you're not gonna have any, don't put that song there, if anything, you know? Like, Where the Birds Always Sing, it's cool. Nothing great. Maybe Someday. I feel like that's a cool song, and it does feel like a single, whether they wanted it to be or not. It kind of drags by the end, too. I feel like it's almost a 5-minute long song. They probably could have trimmed that, but, by this point, the Cure's not really trimming anything, so. And, they didn't want to. That's their idea of this album, right? I just keep going back to that. But then there's a few that Last Day of Summer is real good. The Loudest Sound. There's No If is in there. It's pretty cool. And it's a fairly short album. 9 tracks, I guess, with a 11-minute Watching Me Fall. It technically plays out to about the same as a 10-track album. But yeah, it's weird. Those middle songs are cool. It's strange that it kind of says something that they never really bring those back up for a live set. So they're probably that in itself says something that they're not really. They're cool for the album and at the time, but they're not really anything anyone's dying to hear live or need to be focused on again. But time and place, and they fit well in the album, so they're pretty cool. And then it wraps up with 39. Which is more not so much a great song, but does hit this wonderful time that we're all living in. Not everyone, just me. And then the song Blood Flowers I love. I feel like that one could go on a Cure compilation for somebody for sure. Has that flange that only the Cure can use properly, it seems. And great lyrics. Even like the whole idea of blood flowers seems a little like Phantom Menace-y or something. I don't know. It's kind of like if you just take 2 Cure words and put them together. I'm not sure how much relevance they actually have it together or what it means so much even. But it works and the song's cool. It has one of my favorite bridges to a song. The Between You and Me. That part is really good. Anyway, so that's one of my favorite Cure songs. And, there's only 9 tracks on it. I think the import had a bonus track on there. But, yeah. Do you have a favorite Blood Flower song? Go ahead and post it. Actually, that's another thing I wanted to do in this episode is this is kind of winding down on me just talking to myself. I did want to take a few minutes to, we've had a lot of changes with social media stuff. And so if you're listening to this and have made it this far, which I totally don't blame you if you haven't, but if you made it this far, a couple things to check out if you're into this podcast as of now. We first off abolished the Moonfruit site that I mentioned on a few earlier episodes. Just having to say the word Moonfruit was painful enough, so I will never say it again. It is gone. What I've done to replace it to have a kind of more user-friendly official website for the band, I just made a Facebook page for the website. So there's a Facebook page for the Holy Hour podcast now. So just punch in the Holy Hour podcast Cure, and that probably should bring it up. And it's basically I'll just post links to the new episodes on there, and then put in the supplemental material as comments there. And I've uploaded all the past ones already, so you can check them out. Anything that we've talked about in the episode, there's going to be little clips or pictures. There is a picture of my 6th grade jacket that we talk about in the first episode. I was able to dig it out and post that, and just links to shows or anything that we reference we could throw in there. And that way people can comment more directly on the episodes too. Through iTunes, I feel like you can only comment on the show as a whole. So this way, something's got you riled up in a specific episode. Like, Donald, why are you bashing Wish? That's ridiculous. And then you can put that in there. I encourage you to put that in there. So yeah, check it out on Facebook, their own page, the Holy Hour Podcast. Of course, to subscribe, just go to iTunes and subscribe. Leave comments. I feel like I've heard that it helps with the ratings. Ratings being rankings, not like Nielsen ratings or anything. We don't really care, but it would be cool to have some kind of feedback. And more importantly, I feel like it pops up on the search engines more if you have likes or dislikes even. So yeah, leave some comments. We had some really great comments before we switched hosting, and we lost them, unfortunately. There was some really cool ones. And we'd like to get some more back up there just to feel like the ball's rolling in some direction or not. And, like it or not, we want to hear it all. So subscribe on iTunes. We also have an Instagram page. It's the Holy Hour Podcast, all connected. Don't forget to put the in there, the Holy Hour Podcast. And we'll put episodes updates on that along with some pictures, just random Cure pictures. And we got a few episodes that are already lined up that are back more in the interview format. Donald went on his own and did a interview with one of our dear friends, so that'll be coming up next. And I got a few more lined up, so definitely keep your ears to the iTunes there and subscribe so you can keep track of them all, or just check back soon even. And leave those comments. Check out the Facebook, the Instagram. We're all over the social media. And more importantly, we'll wrap up on this note. Along these lines, and I've hinted at it in the past, I'm not sure how clear it's getting or what. I'm trying to get it out there to social groups and stuff. But we would really love the idea of everyone out there that we don't necessarily know, you guys listening, to record your own Cure story, whether it be memories or just a story of a live show or the first time you got into the Cure, anything along those lines. Your favorite album, just talk about your favorite album. Talk about your least favorite album. Talk about anything Cure related. Record it. You can record it on a digital recorder if you're a musician, anything like that, or on Pro Tools. Record it into your phone. Everybody's got these damn smartphones, right? So just the memo part of it, I think you can record and then just send it as an email and send it to us. We'll put it together. If it's long, we'll make it the whole episode. If it's short, we can compile a few and put them in there. But we kind of wanted it to be this whole community thing of people talking about their Cure stories and their love of the Cure. So we would love for you to participate in that and get the ball rolling. Got a few kind of ideas to get it going that way, but if anybody wants to just jump in, we've yet to have any yet. We're kind of just getting the message out there now. So record your Cure stories and send them to me, Gavin Conner. The email address seems to be everywhere, but it's Gavin, Gavin, Conner, Conner, @gmail.com. And if you want to touch base just to get the specifics, that's fine too. Drop me a message, and isn't that a great idea? We'll get your stories out there, and we'll post them all, and we'll trim them up, make episodes out of this. You can be a co-host of this wonderful program. So on that note, I turn 39 next week. It's not the end of the world, hopefully, and doesn't seem as bleak today as when I was thinking about it the other day. So maybe I'm already getting over it. So don't forget all that social media stuff, and we'll talk to you real soon. Thanks for listening. Talk hard.